Hey guys, I'm Liz. This is my Ledlenser ML6 Lantern. This is just the standard version, so not the ML6 Warm or the ML6 Connect. Here's all the different tests and experiments that I did with this lantern, and let's get straight into the first test right now, starting with the unboxing. I've heard lots of good things about this Ledlenser Lantern. It's one of the more popular lanterns here in Singapore, where I'm from, so I decided to get one to test out. This came in brand new from Amazon, and here are some shots of the packaging that you can check out. Wow, that's a lot of stuff that you get in the box. Let me break this down for you. First, there's the charging wire, then we have the warranty information, a carry case, more info on the lantern and the Ledlenser brand, the lantern itself, the base of the lantern, and of course, the battery. First up, to get the lantern working, we need to insert this battery here. Go ahead and unscrew the battery cover at the bottom of the ML6, and this is what you'll see. There's a gap for the battery in the lantern, and here's what the cover looks like. Now, this is a rechargeable lithium-ion battery by Ledlenser. It's made in China if you want that info, and it says plus and minus over here. Insert it into the lantern with the plus side head first, and this is what it'll look like. Then put the battery cover back on, use some force to push it down a little bit, and then you'll be able to screw it back on. Take note here to tighten it until it no longer moves anymore, and that's when you'll know you get a completely tight seal on this. It even says here at the bottom to fully close the battery cover, screw the cover all the way in. So it's very important that you do that. Here's a quick overview of all the features that you may find useful when you go camping. There's a rubber hook at the top, which is completely removable. Once you take that out, that will give you access to two ports, the micro USB input and the USB output on the other side. On top of these ports, we've also got the 3-in-1 button. So it looks like a single button, but there are 3 areas you can press it right here. The button also functions as a battery indicator. If I turn it on right now, it's a nice green color, which means it has a pretty full charge. Next, we've got the light itself enclosed in this hard plastic. Moving along down, we have the battery compartment with the removable battery that we just saw, and this battery cover also doubles as a very strong magnetic base. The ML6 also comes with a rubber stand, creating a sturdier base, and this also comes with a metal hook underneath. Phew, that is a whopping 10 features already, and I promise that we're just getting started. Let's now go through each feature in depth with loads of cool tests along the way as well, starting with the rubber hook at the top. This is one high-quality removable rubber hook. I like that it's easy to remove, you can take it out completely, and putting it back is equally easy as well. I have other lanterns that also have removable hooks, but these aren't so easy to remove and put back, and sometimes they even scratch my lanterns too. No issues with this Ledlenser though. It's a little bit on the bigger side though, especially the ends of the hook, so if you have tents with those circle loops at the top for hanging your lanterns, this won't fit. For my sun dome here, I had to hang it up on the webbing that held the circle loop and not the circle loop itself. Alternatively, you can also hook this through a carabiner instead and hang that up like that. Another alternative is the metal hook at the bottom of the removable base. This is the more common hook type in lanterns. It's just a thin metal wire and it can go into any of the circle loops like what you see here. The next feature is the battery level indicator. It's very unique. I've never seen this type of indicator in other lanterns, and here's how it works. I got this info from the ML6 user guide. It says here that green means it's a full charge. It goes to a yellow color when it's halfway depleted, and red when it's running very low on battery. In my testing, when I was running my lantern on high and low power, it turned yellow when there's 70% battery left, not 50%. It'll turn to red when it's about 25% left. That's just my testing. And to see the battery level, the lantern must not be turned on yet, and then you have to hold on the button for slightly over a second. Alright, so my ML6 is now off. I'll hold the on button for 2 seconds, and you see that the light here is green. So, full charge. Now, here's another shot of the yellow, and this is what it looks like. It looks more like a greenish yellow rather than a nice yellow, so just take note of that. And the red is a nice red color here, only the yellow is a little bit weird. I also noticed a 4th battery level indicator, and that's after the light has turned red. When it's on the extra critically low battery, this ML6 will flicker a few times to give you a warning, and here's what the flickering looks like. This means that you have about 5 to 10% battery left, which is kind of critically low. Now that you know what colors to look out for, let's get into the next test. At the ends of the rubber hook, you'll find that the words here say in and then out. Let's take out this one first, and this is the micro USB input. This is the cable that the ML6 comes with, and this end is the micro USB, which goes into the lantern like this. The other end of the cable is the standard USB, which goes into any port you have at home. When do you need to charge this? Well, you know the battery is completely flat when you try to turn it on. It flashes and then it just goes dead. Now I'm going to charge this, and you'll know that it's charging when the battery light indicator turns red at the top here. And it will stay red the whole time and turn green only when it's fully charged like this. It doesn't go to the greenish yellow at all. And my ML6 took about 4 to 4.5 hours to fully charge and turn green. I don't know why, it sometimes varies. Now that we've gone through the input, let's talk about the output. And here we have the standard USB output, not the micro USB. What this does is to charge your electronics, and I've used it to charge my iPhone 12. The battery of the ML6 has a capacity of 3000 milliampere hour, and my iPhone has a capacity of 2815. So technically it should get a full charge. Now here's how it went with loads of screenshots along the way. Here's the Ledlenser on a full charge because the battery light is a nice green color, and my mobile phone's charged in here. I'm starting off with a 14% charge. 40 minutes in, 40% charge. Almost an hour in, 50% charge, and I noticed that the battery light has become that weird greenish yellow. 1 hour 20 minutes in, 64% charge, and the light turned red. 1 hour 34 minutes in, 72% charge. And a couple minutes later, it stopped charging at about 73%. So here are the results. Altogether, I got a 59% charge, which is nowhere near a full charge. It's almost like a 3/4 charge. And this took about 1 hour and 35 minutes. I had to reluctantly unplug my phone here, and then I noticed something strange. Once the ML6 stopped charging my phone, the battery light went back to being yellow instead of red. I think the moment it turns red, it doesn't charge your phone at all because there's too little battery and I don't want to leave you stranded with that light. So I turned it on and I ran it on low light, and guess how much light I got? 76.5 hours of light left in this lantern, which is very impressive. And here are all the details that you may need if you plan to use the USB output. The next feature we're going to talk about is the 3-in-1 button. It looks like it's just one button, but you can press it in 3 places: the middle, the plus, and then the minus. So I guess technically it's 3 buttons, and each of them controls the different light modes in this lantern. And there's a freaking boatload of light modes here. If you take a look at the user manual, there are not just the simple functions here that the middle button controls. There are more functions here controlled by the plus and minus buttons, and even more functions here. Okay, I'll do my best to show you exactly how to work this lantern, so strap in for that, and here we go. First, to turn on and off this lantern, just press and hold the middle button for about 1 second. Now, the first mode that you see here is the white mode. To change modes, just press the middle button. The next mode is the red mode. Press it again and you get the white blink mode. Press it again and you get the red blink mode. There are the 4 main modes that are controlled by the middle button here. Now to get to the white blink mode from the red mode, you have to press the middle button in less than 5 seconds. If you leave it on the red mode for more than 5 seconds, when you press the middle button again, it'll go back to the first mode, which is the white mode. Basically, it will default back to the first mode, the white mode, if you don't quickly cycle through the different modes. Okay, so far, here's all the light modes that we've gone through. If you're not feeling exhausted yet, let me try to confuse you a little bit more with the next set of light modes. Oh, and we're not even close to being done yet. I have still another 12 modes to go. For the next few modes, let's ignore the blink modes and just focus on the first 2 white and red modes. And here's where the plus and minus buttons come in. Now, we've got the first white mode on, and if you press and hold the plus button, that'll brighten slowly and eventually give you the high power mode, which is this bright white light. You know that it is at its brightest when it blinks. If you do the same with the minus button, press and hold hold, that'll dim all the way down to the low power mode, which is this dim white light. Again, it'll blink to let you know that you're there. You can also stop it anywhere in between the bright and the dim at whichever brightness you prefer. This is really nice to have complete control over any brightness that you may like. Just press and hold on any of the plus and minus buttons. There's another even brighter mode, and to get to that, just hit the plus button twice and very quickly. This is called boost mode. If you hit it again 2 more times very quickly, you go to the dim white mode. And same thing with going back to the boost mode, just hit the plus button twice. Minus button twice, dim mode. Plus button twice, boost mode. I think you get the gist of it now. Okay, so here's what we've got so far. This is our 4 original modes, and we've learned 3 additional modes under just the first white mode. The exact same thing goes for the second red mode. It works exactly the same way as it does for the white mode. 10 modes in, and we're not even done yet. Now let's focus on the 3rd and 4th original modes here, and those are the blink modes. Now when you're in the white blink mode, just hit either the plus or minus button to cycle through these different modes. After the blink mode, we have the strobe mode, the breathe mode, and the SOS mode. After that, it's back to the blink mode. Here's what they look like. This is the white blink mode. Hit the plus or minus button once, and we've got the strobe mode, which is very, very quick flashes of light. After that, we've got the breathe mode, which is this sort of like candle mode, and I think that's maybe what it is. After that, this is the SOS mode. This is in Morse codes, which I don't really know how it works, but it's supposed to be 3 short flashes, 3 long flashes, and then back to 3 short flashes again, and that's the SOS mode. It worked exactly the same with the red blink mode as well. This is the red strobe mode. This is the red breathe mode. And this is the red SOS mode. And now we're back to the red blink mode after that. Okay, so here's a summary of all the different modes that we've just gone through. And we've gone through a total of a whopping 16 modes, which is insane. And when this lantern also has memory, so it'll remember the last mode you had on. And if the last mode you had on was the blinding white light and you'd like to turn on a red light in the middle of the night, just press and hold either the plus or minus button for about 2 seconds. A nice red light will come on and won't blind the crap out of you. I know it'll take some time to get used to all these modes, and I know I may not have gone through them as slowly or as quickly as you'd like, so for a recap of all this info, you can just hang on to the ML6 user guide. There are all these important sections that show you the different modes. Ledlenser also provides all of this in a PDF form online, so I'll leave a link in the description below if you want to check it out to refresh your memory a little bit. I know, it's a lot to take in. Now, back to the tests. Here's the next one, and that's how accurate the lumen output is. So far, here's all the info and official specs that you'll find on this lantern. Take note of the runtime here too, because I'll be going through that next as well. To test specifically for lumen output, I'm going to need the lantern, of course, plus a few other testing tools. Now I'm going to get the ML6 on its high power mode, and keep an eye on the lux meter here. I got a reading of about 497 lumens, wherein it's completely parallel to the lantern, and when I tilt it away, the reading will drop quite a bit. Now for the boost mode, I'm going to double tap the plus button twice, and the lumen output goes up a little bit. I got a reading of about 720 lumens on this. Again, it'll drop when I try to show it to you. Double tap on the minus button twice, that'll take us to the low power mode, and that reads 0 lumens. This is the only reading that doesn't drop when I try to show it to you. Okay, and here's how my testing compares to the official specs of this lantern. I would say that it's not too bad overall. The marketed specs are quite accurate, and I love that I have a large range of lumen outputs to play around with, from 0 to 720 lumens. That's pretty good. Now that we've done the lumen output testing on these 3 most important modes, what exactly is the runtime for each of these modes? Here's what the official specs say. Of course, I tested that as well, and here are all my results for my testing. When running on the low power mode, I got 269 hours instead of 240 hours, which is about 10% more, which is really nice. In the high power mode, I got almost exactly 4 hours of high power, plus another 15 minutes on a lower power after that. But I'm just going to put it at 4 hours because we're only talking about the high power mode here. And on the boost mode, it doesn't last for more than 1 minute because it tends to overheat quite a bit. After the minute is up, it'll drop down to a lower power mode to prevent overheating. Now I'm going to find out the exact distance that this lantern can throw its light, and that's basically the shine distance. That's the ML6 sitting on my tripod. This is the high power mode on about 500 lumens. I couldn't use the boost mode because remember, it doesn't last for more than 1 minute. Now here's the ML6 up close in its high power mode. That's my lux meter again, and it's showing a lumen count of about 500 lumens. I'm going to slowly back away from the lantern and notice that the lumen count drops quite a bit the further away we get from the lantern. I'm just backing away, and here's the exact spot where it shows 0 lumens. This means that the lux meter cannot detect any more light from the ML6. Here's the distance for myself to the lantern. I measured that distance in footsteps, which came in at about 9 of my footsteps, or about 93 inches, or about 7.8 feet, or about 236 centimeters. Not the best, but not the worst either. Now, what does this ML6 look like in a tent? Well, here's the bright red mode in a 6-person sundome tent, and here's roughly the light that you get. It's not really enough to do anything, and I think it's best used as a nightlight. Here's what my book looks like in this red light. This is an actual shot, and I think you can't see anything at all. This is the dim white mode. It's a little bit brighter than even the brightest red mode, but it's still not bright enough to read or to play cards. I can somewhat make out the fact that I'm holding a book here, but I can't see any of the words on the page at all. Now let's move that up to a brighter lumen output. This is not the brightest, but that's good enough to read and do other stuff. And now we've got our bright white mode. This is not a boost mode though, but notice that it lights up the entire tent perfectly. With this light, you can play cards or read books perfectly well because you can see everything super clearly. If you're just chilling though, you don't really need this brightest mode though, because it's a little bit too bright and it's completely white, making it not the best light before bed. If you lower it down a little bit, it gets a lot cozier if you're just chilling. And this is the dimmest white, the coziest white light so far. But what's even better than that? A nice red light, and this is the brightest red mode. And this is the dimmest red, the coziest light so far, and I highly recommend it for chilling. Now, this is what it looks like from the outside of the tent. I'll head in and show you. This is the dimmest white mode, and I'm going to adjust the brightness till it hits the brightest white mode, and you can tell because it blinks 3 times to let you know. I'm going to dim it to the dimmest white mode again, and you can see right here that it's blinking 3 times as well. Now I'm going to change it to the dimmest red mode, and you can't see that at all because that's how dim it is. Now I'm going to adjust the brightness to the brightest red mode, which blinks 3 times. And notice how the brightest red is much less dim. That's why it's great for a nightlight. Here we have the blinking white mode, and that's the blinking red mode, which you can hardly see. And those are the 4 main modes that we talked about. One feature I thought was great was the glowing ring, like you can see here after I used the lantern. You can also see it better here. The battery light glows a little, and so does the optic structure of the lantern here. It helps you to find your lantern even in the dark, which is very nice. The next feature we're going to talk about is the light quality. This ML6 features a microstructure optic lens. It says so here on the marketing page. This is it. This hard plastic outer covering is the optic lens. I thought this was very high quality. Notice here when you turn on the light that the LEDs are located at the top of the lantern here. There are lots of them around the top forming a circle like this. This is great because when you have the lantern right side up, the LEDs don't shine directly in your eyes. And unlike other lanterns that have LEDs at the top and don't diffuse outwards well enough, the optic lens here actually does help to reflect the light and diffuse it outwards, which is an ingenious invention. Another mode I haven't talked about yet is the lock mode. To lock this ML6, first make sure that it's off, like this, then press and hold both the plus and minus buttons at the same time for more than 1 second. After that, the lantern will blink 3 times really quickly, and that means it's locked. When you press any button to try and turn on the lantern, it'll just do the same thing, blink 3 times really quickly and not turn on at all. This is great if you want to stuff this into your pack and get this from place to place. To unlock this lantern, do the exact same thing. Press and hold both the plus and minus buttons at the same time for more than 1 second. It'll blink again 3 times and then turn on. That means you've unlocked it. The next feature is the magnetic base, and this is the strongest magnetic base I've ever seen in a camping lantern. It's perfect if you need to stick it to a metal surface like this. It even hangs upside down perfectly fine, or even sideways like this. It also sticks onto a car perfectly fine too. I've never worried that it will drop off. In the middle of the base, it also has a standard tripod thread, so you can mount it on any tripod that you have to get it off the ground. I guess that makes up for the lack of legs on this lantern, and that allows you to get it stable on an incline or a slope. The next feature is this provided rubber stand. It comes separately, so you can take it out or put it on. It's a pretty tight fit though, so the best way to get it in is to fit it in partially first and then twist it to get the rest of it in, like this. This Ledlenser ML6 has an amazing rating of IP66. First, what is this IP rating? The first digit here, which is 6, shows the dust protection on a scale of 0 to 6. So this is the best. The second digit here, also 6, shows waterproofing on a scale of 0 to 9. This 6 is protected against 10 minutes of powerful water jets, but isn't high enough to be completely submerged in water. That's a rating of 7, and I did test this against powerful water jets, well, actually just my water hose at home, for more than 10 minutes. I dredged it perfectly with loads of water at all kinds of angles, and here's all the shots that you can see on the screen here. After this water test, I noticed that the lantern still worked great. But, and of course there's a but here, I noticed that when I took the rubber hook off, the inner ports had a little bit of water inside. Not inside the ports itself, but around the ports where the seal isn't so strong, I guess. The removable base also had a little bit of water in it, and even the battery compartment also had a little bit of water. Not in the battery compartment itself, but the seal around it. I guess that's why this lantern can't be submerged, because the seals would need to be stronger for that. As for impact resistance, I dropped it from about hand height and it was still working great. The light didn't go off, there were no scratches at all and no issues at all. I also dropped it without the removable base, and the light went off when I did, because there's not as much shock absorbed without the rubber base, but I could still turn it back on fine, and overall I had no issues here at all. As for the overall quality and materials of this ML6, well, you can find all this info on the sales page right here. I thought that every part of the lantern was insanely high quality. You know that I usually have something to say here, but I have no negative comments at all here. You have to buy this and feel it to know exactly how high quality it is. This ML6 also comes with a whopping 7-year warranty, which is the longest warranty I've ever seen in a lantern, and that shows you how long Ledlenser is willing to back their product. As for the weight of this lantern, that comes in at about 10.6 ounces or 301 grams if you need that conversion. The pack size comes in at about 2 1/4 inch by 2.5 inches, because the base is pretty wide, by about 7 1/4 inch for the length. That's about 5.7 by 6.3 by 18.4 centimeters. Now, for pros, this ML6 is an incredibly feature-rich lantern. It has every single feature you can possibly think of, and I don't think it's missing a single feature at all. It has not 1, but 2 hooks, so you can hang it upside down or right side up. It also has a super strong magnetic base and a whopping 16 light modes. Here's the ML6 without any light at all. Here's the brightest white mode, which is the first main mode, and of course you can make that dimmer if you want. You can also change it to the red night light mode, which is the second main mode. This is the white blink mode, the third mode, and this is the red blink mode, the fourth main mode. And based off of these 4 main modes, you can configure an additional 12 modes, which brings us to a whopping 16 light modes. Of these 16 modes, I think the strobe white is the best emergency mode I've ever seen in a camping light so far. Some camping lights come with red emergency lights, which is terrible for visibility in an emergency. Check out both my Lighthouse 600 from Goal Zero and the Ledlenser here. When I move far away enough, you won't be able to see it at all. On the other hand, here's what the strobe white looks like at night. It's so insanely bright that even when I'm 10 meters or a whopping 30 feet away, you can still see the light clear as day. It lights up my entire yard and even bounces off my entire house, and even everyone inside my house could see the light. The white blink is also pretty attention grabbing, but I think the strobe light is better in an emergency. The next big pro is the fact that this has a removable battery. Very few rechargeable lanterns have these removable batteries because I think they want you to buy a brand new lantern altogether when the capacity of this drops. Here's the official Ledlenser website in Singapore. I can see that they do sell batteries, but this is not a battery that's in the ML6. You need an 18650 battery for this, and you can get that from anywhere else too. Another great pro is that this ML6 is super durable. It has a very respectable IP66 rating, one of the highest of my lanterns. I could put it through any type of rain, and this lantern also easily has the longest warranty, coming in at a whopping 7 years. It's also a surprisingly powerful light for such a tiny little lantern. And apart from all these big pros, I love the little details too, like the glowing ring around the lantern, and I think this is my only rechargeable lantern that comes with a carry case. I don't actually use it, but it's nice to have, I guess. I also really quite like the shape as well. I found that it fit nicely into my hand, and it's easy to carry around. As for cons, I think the biggest one is easily that this lantern is expensive. Its MSRP, or manufacturer's suggested retail price, is pegged at a whopping $90. But if you ask me, I think it's well worth the money because this lantern can last you easily 7 years. So cost per year isn't too high, I think. Another con is that it sometimes overheats. This part here, which is the aluminum housing, is where it overheats. It definitely tends to overheat on boost mode, which is why that mode can't last for longer than a minute. But the good thing is that I've been testing and using this Ledlenser for about 2 months now, and so far I have no other issues apart from the overheating. Overall, I absolutely love this tiny lantern. It literally has everything I've ever needed in a camping light, and I would 100% recommend it. To find out how it compares to other rechargeable lanterns though, check out this video on the screen here. Otherwise, just go ahead and get this one. It's awesome.